Welcome back, everyone. It is Sunday, February 23rd in the NBA, and my 5 best bets are on the way. As you see, we are in a change of scenery at the parents' house, and when you know what that means, we aren't missing any picks today. For whatever reason, we have a crazy good track record here. I've already got a spoiler alert, one of our picks at the bottom. Stay tuned for that. But as always, we need to dive into a recap of how we did yesterday, and it was a frustrating one. We went 1-2. Now, our one winner, Rui Hachimura, clap it up. A round of applause. He scored 21 points. Proud of him. He did his job. The other picks, Joel Embiid, kind of a bad read. I'm not betting on any more Sixer props for a hot minute. He didn't play the whole first quarter. He also had 4 assists in the first quarter. So obviously, we talked about it yesterday. Thought he played the whole 12 minutes. Wasn't the case. Ended with 4 points. Missed a couple wide open threes. But again, 4 assists. They were doubling him. Not a good read there. The one that really aggravates me is Donovan Clingan. As you know, yesterday, if you watched the video, we took his over in rebounds. We did the 8.5 at like minus 130. We also sprinkled a quarter unit on his 10 plus rebounds over 9.5 at plus 140. Based on some injury news, that plus 140 became minus 235 before the game based on Robert Williams being ruled out. And when that happened, I was like, oh no, something's going wrong. What did he do? He ended with 5 rebounds. What happened with his teammates? Tamani Kamara had 12. Jeremy Grant, whose line was 3.5 at 9. And the backup center, who's not even a big guy, 14 rebounds. So just one of those. I felt like we had the right read there, but the ball just was not bouncing our way yesterday. And hey, it is what it is. We're going to bounce back today. We got 5 picks. I'm going to dive right into them. Thanks for tuning in. Do me a favor, like and subscribe. Sundays, typically our least viewed NBA video. And typically the less views we get, the better the picks are. That's normally how it works, I swear. But either way, let's dive in the picks. We'll begin with the first one, which I spoiled at the beginning of the video, scrolling down at the bottom. And that would be a guy by the name of Anthony Edwards. I'm taking his under 28.5 points, minus 110 on DraftKings, a 1-unit play. Him and the Timberwolves play host to the Oklahoma City Thunder tonight. Tomorrow, these two teams play once again. They have a back-to-back, but it's a home and home. So they'll be in OKC to play that game. So obviously, this could be a blowout. And if it is a blowout, you'll probably not play an Ant-Man a ton of minutes, given you have to play the Thunder once again tomorrow. And if he hits the over today, I'll be back on the under tomorrow. That's just how it be. But I really like his under tonight. Obviously, the Oklahoma City Thunder, we can pull up any single defensive split, and you would know it's a tough way to score against the Oklahoma City Thunder, unless it's via free throws, which is the only really bad thing they are. But again, with Chet and Hartenstein in there, it is tough sledding with Lou Dort out there. I mean, we know how tough this team is. And I have a trivia question for you guys. When was the last time someone scored 29 or more points against the Oklahoma City Thunder, aka hitting this over? Do some math. What do you think? Probably maybe a couple weeks ago. You'd have to go all the way back to December 23rd, before Christmas, the last time someone hit this over. Now, obviously, Ant-Man is capable, and we'll touch on him recently. I mean, obviously, he's been really good. I don't need to tell you that. You look at his numbers recently. He's been a stud. He's been over in, a lot of his recent games. But again, we don't care about recent games. We're looking at head-to-head this season, 20 points on 12 shots in 40 minutes, and then 23 points here. Now, this game, he got a lot of free throw attempts. Tipped the cap, 11 free throw attempts. But again, 5 of 18 shooting. This game, they were without Randall, DiVincenzo, Gobert. They'll be without those guys today. We could see Mike Conley come back. He did not play in that game. But again, no Rudy Gobert means at least you have someone out there that can shoot the basketball. So you got another person that can score. Rudy really doesn't do any scoring against OKC. Now, I've already talked about how bad of a matchup it is. We know the Thunder rank 3rd versus pick and roll ball handlers. Free throws, the only place they're not great at. Transition, isolation, spot up shooting, which really isn't Ant-Man's forte, and he's not going to get a lot of spot up shots. They're not leaving him open. Again, I mean, we look where he scores his points, 50% of them on above the break threes. We see the Thunder rank 2nd there, 1st in the mid range. I mean, what other stats do we need to give you to tell you it's a tough matchup? So I'm not going to sugarcoat it. We're taking his under 28.5 points. If he goes over, I'll let you know right now. We'll be on his under tomorrow. And it's going to be tough sledding. They also just beat the Thunder by 15. I could see them playing a little bit pissed today. So give me his under 28.5 points. No one likes to start with an under for the day, but hey, we got to do that one. I do have a pick. I want to note one of my favorite picks of the day is in the Knicks and Celtics game. I saved it for last because that game starts at 1. So there's a chance you're watching this after that game's already started. So we do have a pick at the end of the video that is on that game. So if you're watching it right before that game, maybe skip forward to that one and come back to this next one. That's another under. Tyrese Haliburton, under 18.5 points, currently minus 120 on DraftKings, a 1-unit play. Nothing too crazy, keeping it 1 units. Look, Tyrese Haliburton, he's been an under wagon for us. We've actually taken his under in assists. He's under in points. The points was a little bit sweaty as he ended on the hook for us. But again, I see this matchup against the Clippers, and I hate it for Haliburton. He has not been a consistent scorer, albeit better at home where he finds himself today. But again, the Clippers are not a good matchup for him. We think about the Clippers defense. They've been one of the top 10 defenses in the NBA this season. They've obviously made some changes at the trade deadline and things like that. And I have no idea who plays for him tonight. Norm Powell and Kawhi Leonard are both questionable. What I do know is in that lineup against Haliburton is going to be either Chris Dunn, probably in there, the guy that guards Haliburton. If somehow some of these guys are all ruled in, Derrick Jones Jr. wouldn't shock me if he's the one that guards Haliburton. So again, we're talking about DJJ and Chris Dunn, two elite perimeter defenders off the bench. You guys like Amir Coffey and those guys. I just don't see it being a great spot for Haliburton here. I think it's a better spot for him to dish it to his teammates than it is for him to score the basketball. And we've kind of seen that over this whole season. Haliburton, hasn't been the greatest in his last 18 games, under in a little over half of them, 10 of 18. So pretty good hit rate there. He's faced the Clippers before this season, 14 points, 5 of 13. They won that game by 7. So again, they won it. Yeah, I mean, last year he played them, scored 8 points on 12 shots, 21 points. But again, he shoots 7 of 12 here, makes 6 of his 9 3-pointers. They also didn't have Benedict Mathurin in that game, Aaron Nesmith, those guys. So this is a Pacers team that more or less is pretty healthy. They have Mathurin, Miles Turner, and Nembhard. They have Pascal Siakam. They have a lot of guys that can go out there and score the basketball. Ultimately, I just don't think it's a great matchup for him. We see pick and roll ball handlers, number one way of scoring. This is a Clippers team that ranks 9th there, so a top 10 defensive team. One we've seen when he plays teams that rank pretty well. And again, this is PropsMadness, the site. You can use code COS to get a 25% off your purchase. So again, if you want to use this website, the best research tool out there, use that code COS. I'll put the link down below. And just make sure you apply that code when you go to checkout. But again, when they faced teams that are really good at defending the opposing pick and roll ball handler, let's just say top 15 teams, looking at him under an 11 of 18, averaging 18 points per game. But again, he's had some nuts games in here. 34 against the Pelicans. Come on. Pelicans don't play defense. 32 against the Sixers. Again, they're in drop coverage. They aren't great against pick and roll ball handlers. 33 against the Heat. You tip your cap. He's always played well there. But again, I'll fade him. Look, I got to fade him. I don't need to give into the weeds. We already talked about why I really like it. I think there's enough stats to back that one. I think it's a better matchup for his teammates than it is him. And honestly, any game could be a blowout these days. So I don't mind taking unders, especially right now in the NBA. Maybe give these guys a week or two to get locked in, and maybe we'll get some closer games. But again, I just don't see Haliburton consistently putting up 19 against the Clippers as the worst matchup on the floor. I like it for assists. I don't like him to score the basketball tonight. My third play, finally, if you've waited for an over and you're this far in the video, thank you. We have an over. And honestly, it's probably going to be on a guy that I quietly think he's becoming a wagon, but people are, I think, have PTSD on betting on his props. And that's the man named Zion Williamson. Zion, I'm taking his over 29.5 points plus assists, minus 102 on FanDuel. I would probably play it at 30.5. I don't think it gets there. 29.5 is probably where it settles at. Now, people are going to ask, why don't you take PRAs? It's 35.5. I don't mind PRAs, but there's two things. Number one, I don't like counting on Zion to get rebounds. Actually, 3 things. Zion, I feel like most of his rebounds come on offensive rebounds, and ideally, we're not getting offensive rebounds because we're making our shots on the first shot. Number 2, PRA lines, in my opinion, are the sharpest lines out there. I don't like taking a lot of PRA lines. Last year, I felt like I did a lot of them. Not the greatest hit rate on them. Still decent. But again, I feel like those sharper ones out there. So I like points and assists or points and rebounds. I don't like combining all of them because then if they have a bad day in one of the stat categories, you're basically cooked. And then number 3, he's starting now with Kelly Olynyk and Messi out there. So Zion, who used to be starting at like the 4, playing some center minutes, they got 2 bigs out there with him. Now, why I like the points and assists is those bigs aren't really generating offense. Now, Olynyk is a better playmaker than he gets credit for. But again, I like this matchup for him to get the points and assists. Now, before I yap your ear off, let's talk about Zion a little bit more and look at how he's been doing this season. And obviously, he's missed a lot of games. I don't need to tell you that. But when he's out there, plays pretty dang well. Look at his stats on the season. He's over in 12 of 18 games. So pretty good hit rate. You look at him, he's had some big games in here. He's been very, very, very good. You look at the games that he's gone under. I mean, we're looking at games. I mean, if you were to just look at, let's not really count when he was coming back from injury. Look at his last 15 games, over an 11 of 15. So very good. Where are the losses? The Timberwolves, who had Rudy Gobert and drop coverage. This is a Celtics matchup where the Celtics, I mean, he shot 5 of 15. So that's obviously not ideal. Celtics, very good defensive team, especially in the paint. The Nuggets, Obviously, he just didn't play well here. But again, a team that I would say is okay defensively or whatever. He just didn't play well. And then the Thunder, one of the best defenses in the league. So again, when he faces non-top 10 defenses, he's absolutely crushing them. And this today, he faces the Spurs. The Spurs, we know they have no Wembanyama. We've also seen, and when they know have no Wembanyama, we see them already. He's scoring 58% of his points in the restricted area. This is a defense that is 26th there. That's with Wemby. And their last game without Wemby, 62 points in the paint allowed to the Pistons. And we look at how he scores his points. Sure, free throws, not ideal. Isolation. I don't really take into account all these numbers because these were with Wemby. Their defense is so much different without him. They don't have anyone that can guard him. So if they want to double team him, we got the assists in there. And again, when Zion plays at home, he's been very, very good over in nearly every single game. Only miss was against the Timberwolves. Again, a very tough matchup, shot below 50% from the free throw line. Not ideal. I just honestly don't think this Spurs team with no Wemby, they're putting in Bismack, Biyombo at center, the Jeremy Sohan's playing center minutes. They have no one that can stop him. And easier said than done, the double Zion. I saw the stats coming out recently that Zion's the number one doubled player in NBA over the last 10 years. He's the number one guy that's being doubled. So again, double him all you want. They can't stop him. I like the assists. He's been getting some good potential assists. His last game, he had, what was the number? He had 12 potential assists, only got 3 assists. So again, I love him. I think he can absolutely destroy the Spurs. I'll take his over 29.5 points plus assists. Final play of the day. Technically, we have 2 plays involving this guy, and it's very similar to what we did on Friday. Karl-Anthony Towns taking back his under 23.5 points, a 1-unit play. I'll have a half unit on a parlay that does include this. Now, I do want to note the parlay will have his under 23.5 points. If your line's 22.5, me personally, I probably would only put a half unit on this play and then a half unit on the parlay. They obviously go hand in hand. We'll touch on that parlay in just 1 second. Why am I fading Cat again? Some could say, Austin, you got very, very lucky when you took us under the other day against the Cavaliers. Well, yeah, you could say that. And also this game starts at 1 p.m. You could say I got lucky. I could also argue that the man shot 70% from the field and it wasn't a good read on my end. He got a lot of looks that I didn't expect him to get. Today's matchup against the Boston Celtics is one that I don't envy for the man. He is going to have a very tough time scoring. Now, obviously, as a time of recording this, 8:39 a.m. Eastern time, I have no idea who suits up for the New York Knicks. OG Anunoby, Josh Hart, or who's out there. All I know is I don't care. That is how confident I am that this is a terrible matchup for Karl-Anthony Towns. And I'll touch on that matchup in a second. But let's first look at Karl-Anthony Towns' numbers. And obviously, we're using PropsMadness. A reminder, use code COS at sign up, 25% off your purchase. So again, take advantage of that offer. This is the best research tool out there. There's a reason I use it in every video. It's how I make a lot of my picks. Best research tool out there. Let's talk about Cat, though. Obviously, Cat, you look at him, he's over in 12 of his last 18. Congrats, whoop-de-doo. He pads his stats, though. And I love Cat. I'm a Knicks fan. I have a future on Cat to average 24 points per game, and he's doing great for me. However, let's look at when Cat, that's the wrong button. What happens when Cat faces teams that actually try on defense? Top 15 defensive teams. You see Cat over in 10 of 18. Proud of him, but 18 games doesn't give you a big enough sample size. Let's just go full season. Under in 12 of 24, and that's at 22.5. If there's a 23.5, which I'm pretty sure every book was still at 23.5 last I checked. Can we see? Yeah, most books still at 23.5. When he's at 23.5, you're looking at a guy that's under in not 15 of 24 against top 15 defensive teams. That includes the Boston Celtics, who rank 4th defensively. He scored 12 and 9 points against them, 8 and 9 field goal attempts. Why, Austin? What happened? What the heck's going on with Cat? Why is he not shooting the basketball against him? Well, here's why. His top ways of scoring, spot up shooting. They rank 4th there. It's free throws, 3rd. Pick and roll man, 6th. Transition, 6th. How he scores the basketball. Terrible matchup for Karl-Anthony Towns. Additionally, let's talk about this matchup as well in terms of who's going to guard him. Well, recently what they've been doing is when they face the New York Knicks, instead of putting Kristaps Porzingis, their starting center, on Cat, what they do is they're like, we know you, Cat. We're going to put Jason Tatum on you. And so, or if there's whoever the 4-man is, all I know is they're not putting Karl-Anthony Towns or Kristaps on him. Typically, if they change it up today, whatever, GG. But again, they put Tatum on him. And so what happens is, well, Karl-Anthony Towns can't really go past Tatum. Tatum can move quicker on his feet than a center can. And even if he does get past him, you got Kristaps Porzingis, Al Horford, Luke Cornett waiting for him down below in the paint. So again, you lead to Towns either pass it to the other guys or chucking up some contested looks, or he's just the only way he scores is really getting into the post where, sure, but the Knicks don't really post up Karl-Anthony Towns. And again, if he's posting up a smaller guy, there's going to be help coming his way. So again, all these things combined, I don't like the matchup once again for Cat. I just don't think it's a good one for him. Obviously, it would help if those other guys get ruled in. But at the same time, if Precious Achiuwa is starting, guess what? The Celtics are literally going to leave Precious Achiuwa wide open because he is a liability offensively. So again, I hate the matchup for Cat. You might think I'm picking on him, but I love Cat. I'm a Knicks fan. But I also know his faults, and I just think it's a good spot for him. So I'll take his under 23.5 points. At 22.5, as you saw with my numbers and stuff, he has ended on 23 a couple times. But again, I'm not too worried about it. I think he goes under that line too. So I really like Cat's under. And then my final play of the day is going to be a parlay involving that. And it's going to look identical to the one we just took on Friday. And here it is. I won't waste any more time. 3 legs. Again, this game starts at 1 p.m., so it might have already started by the time you're watching this. Hopefully this play looks good. If it doesn't, GG. But again, Jalen Brunson, 20-plus points. Jalen Brunson under in assists. And Karl-Anthony Towns under in points. Very similar analysis to the last one. Only playing this for a half unit at plus 250 on Fanatics. Technically, FanDuel had better value, but they had a 22.5 line. As you saw, Cat ends with 23 a couple times. By the time you're watching this, there might be alternate lines out there where you can get Cat at 23.5, or heck, if you want to take him up to like 26.5, be a little bit safer. I love that because I love the other legs. We've already touched on Cat a ton, but I like Brunson's matchup for scoring the basketball. And I don't need to beat it into your head a ton about Brunson's matchup. But what the Celtics are good at slowing down a guy like Karl-Anthony Towns, they're not good at slowing down guys like Jalen Brunson. Obviously, Brunson, this is for his 27.5 line. But again, look at how he scores his points in the pick and roll as the ball handler. The Celtics are 4th the worst there. Free throws, they're pretty good. But again, this is Jalen Brunson. He's different. And in isolation. So these are the ways Jalen Brunson scores. Hence why I like the matchup for him. Head-to-head wise against them this season. 22 points on 9 of 14. They lost, he only played 25 minutes here. And then 36 points. They lost by 27. So he easily went over there. Last year against them scoring the basketball wise. 15. It's not a great game. 6 of 21, whatever. You live with that. 26, 23, 34, 40, 39. So again, played really well scoring the basketball against them. Also, we have to touch on the under in assists and why I like the under in assists. I think it's not a good matchup for him to pass to his teammates. This is a Celtics team, and we'll touch on them in a second. If this wants to load, Jalen Brown or Jalen Brunson, where you at? Jalen Brown right here. You can take it as a or so. I'm throwing in the parlay line 12 under in 12 of his last 18. Head-to-head wise, though, this season, we've seen this game he had 5 assists, did have 15 potential, and then this game 4 potential assists. So not a lot of there. You go head-to-head wise last season. Look at the games: 6 on 15, 4 on 8. 4 on 8. The only game went over 9 on 9, 4 on 12. So not a lot of potential assists to go around. We've talked about the Celtics before. They're a top 5 defensive team, assists allowed, 3rd fewest in the NBA. So again, put all those things together, and I hope you can see why I really like this parlay of Brunson to score 20. You could honestly take him up to 22 or 24. I just think he gets you 20 even on a bad shooting night. And then you got Brunson under in assists and Cat under in points, which go hand in hand. A lot of his assists do go to Cat. So hey, there you go. Proof's in the pudding. That's why I really, really like it. I forgot to even note the number one, the newest tool on PropsMadness. They show you where the assists go. So you can see here, you'll see Brunson, 46% of his assists go to the restricted area. Well, if you put the verses, you'll see Celtics rank 3rd there. Again, 22% in the mid-range. Another great spot. It's only 20% go to, 3-point shots. And honestly, I'd imagine most of those are Karl-Anthony Towns. I don't think he gets open look. So again, really like this play, this parlay. Only putting a half unit on it at plus 250 to win back well with that 1.25. I like it. I think we had a good chance there. So those are my favorite picks of the day. Again, thanks for tuning in from the parents' house. Hopefully these picks do really well. We have a really good track record when we're here. So stay tuned. Hopefully it is a good day for us. And again, thanks for tuning in on a Sunday. Let's go 5-0. Let's have a great start going into Monday. And let's get back those clinging units that just absolutely put me in shambles last night. Have a great Sunday. Have a great rest of your weekend. I'll see you guys back in bright and early Monday morning, back in my normal place, hopefully with the brooms out. See you then. Peace.